Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the New Horizon. He watched the stars through the big window. In front of him, his hands shook a little as he held his coffee cup. Today was different from any other day in human history. Captain, we're getting a signal, said Lieutenant Amy Davis. From her seat at the control panel, her voice was calm, but Jake could see worry in her eyes. Jake walked over to her. Station, what kind of signal? It's not like anything we've seen before. The computer can't understand it, but it's clearly made by someone smart, very smart. Jake took a deep breath. For 3 months they had been traveling to this empty spot in space. Earth scientists had detected something strange here. Now they knew what it was. Put it on the main screen, Jake said. The big screen in front of them lit up with colors that seemed to move like water. The colors formed shapes that looked almost like writing, but not quite. Then the colors changed into something that looked like a map of the solar system. They know where we come from, whispered Dr. Peter Williams, the ship's science officer. He was a thin man with gray hair who usually stayed calm about everything. Today even he looked scared. Jake felt his heart beat faster. Send our peaceful greeting message, the one we practiced. Amy's fingers moved quickly over her controls. She sent out the message that Earth's leaders had spent years creating. It was simple. We are humans from Earth. We come in peace. We want to be friends. For 10 minutes nothing happened. Then the space in front of their ship began to change. It looked like the air was bending and twisting. Jake had never seen anything like it. Captain, Amy said, her voice now clearly afraid. Something big is coming. A ship appeared from nowhere. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than the New Horizon. But that wasn't the strangest thing about it. The ship seemed to be made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. It was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. My God, Dr. Williams said quietly. More ships appeared. First 5, then 10, then 20. All of them were made of the same glowing crystal. They formed a circle around the New Horizon, but they didn't point any weapons at them. They're trying to talk again, Amy said. This time the message was in perfect English. Human ship New Horizon, we welcome you. We are the Zaffaran Empire. We have been waiting to meet your people. Will you come aboard our main ship for a peaceful meeting? Jake looked at his crew. They all looked back at him, waiting for his decision. This was why Earth had sent them out here. This was the moment that would change everything. Tell them yes, Jake said, but ask if we can bring a small team. They say 3 people only, Amy replied after a moment. Jake chose Dr. Williams for his science knowledge and Lieutenant Ben Carter for protection. Ben was a big man who had served in Earth Space Marines before joining the exploration team. So 3 men put on their best uniforms and took a small shuttle to the alien ship. As they got closer, Jake could see that the crystal ship was even more amazing. Up close, the walls seemed to glow from inside, and he could see people moving around inside. They landed in what looked like a big room made entirely of blue crystal. The air was warm and smelled like flowers. Soft music played from somewhere, but Jake couldn't see where it came from. Then she walked into the room. Jake had seen beautiful women before, but this was different. She was tall and moved like she was dancing, even though she was just walking. Her skin looked like it was made of silver crystal that changed colors as she moved. Her eyes were deep, blue like the ocean, and when she looked at him, Jake felt like she could see right into his soul. "Welcome, humans," she said. Her voice was soft and musical. "I am Princess Lyranith of the Zepyrian Empire." Jake tried to speak, but no words came out. Dr. Williams stepped forward and spoke. "For all of them, Your Highness, we are honored to meet you. I am Dr. Peter Williams. This is Lieutenant Ben Carter. And this is our captain, Jake Morrison." The princess looked at each of them, but her eyes stayed on Jake the longest. When she looked at him, he felt warm and strange, like electricity was running through his body. "Captain Morrison," she said, and Jake loved the way his name sounded when she said it. "Your people are very brave to come so far from home." "We had to come," Jake finally managed to say. "When we detected your signals, we knew we had to meet you." The princess smiled, and Jake thought it was the most beautiful smile in the universe, but then her smile faded and she looked sad. "I wish our meeting could be only about friendship and learning about each other, but I'm afraid we have bigger problems to discuss." She led them through halls made of crystal that seemed to sing softly as they walked. They passed other Zepyrians, and Jake saw that they were all beautiful in the same strange way. Their crystal skin changed colors, and Jake realized the colors showed how they were feeling. They came to a big room where other Zephyrians were waiting. Some of them had skin that glowed red, which Jake guessed meant they were angry or upset. "These are my advisors," Princess Lyranith said. "We need to tell you something very important about why we contacted your people." The princess stood in the center of the room. Her skin turned a sad blue color. "Our home star is dying," she said. "In 50 of your Earth years, it will collapse and become what you call a black hole. Our entire civilization will be destroyed. We have the technology to travel between stars, but we need a very special kind of star to survive. Your sun is one of the few stars in this part of the galaxy that can keep us alive." Jake felt cold suddenly. "What are you saying?" One of the red-skinned advisors stepped forward. Jake could see this one was angry. "General Vexar," the princess said quietly, "what she is trying to say, human," the general said in a hard voice, "is that we need your solar system, your planet's your sun. We are many billions of people, and we will not let our civilization die just because a few million humans got there first." The room became very quiet. Jake looked at Dr. Williams and Ben, and he could see they understood what this meant. The aliens weren't just saying hello, they were giving humans a choice: share the solar system or lose it. Princess Lyran's skin turned even more blue, and she looked directly at Jake. "I hope we can find a way to live together in peace," she said. "But my people are desperate, and desperate people sometimes do terrible things." Jake knew that everything had just changed, not just for him but for every human alive. Jake's hands were still shaking when he got back to Earth. 3 weeks later, the meeting with the Zepyrians had ended quickly after General Vexar's threat. Princess Lyranith had looked sad and embarrassed, but she didn't disagree with what the general said. Now Jake sat in a big room in Geneva, Switzerland, with the most important people on Earth. The Global Defense Council was meeting to decide what humanity should do. Admiral Kate Sullivan hit the table with her fist. She was a tough woman with short gray hair who had spent her whole life in the military. "We need to prepare for war right now," she said loudly. "These aliens have billions of people and technology. We can't even understand. If we wait, we'll all be dead. Ambassador Ryan. Torres shook his head. He was a calm man who had spent years helping countries solve their problems without fighting. Fighting them would be like ants trying to fight humans, he said. We need to find a way to work together. Work together. Admiral Sullivan laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. They told us they're going to take our solar system, whether we like it or not. What part of that sounds like working together? Dr. Lisa Chang raised her hand to speak. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, even though she had never seen real aliens until Jake brought back videos of the Zephyrians. I've been studying the recordings Captain Morrison brought back, she said. The Zephyrians' bodies are very different from ours, but in some ways they're similar too. I think they really could live on planets like Earth without hurting our environment. That's not the point, Admiral Sullivan said. The point is they want to take our planets away from us. Jake had been quiet during most of the meeting, but now he spoke up. I don't think Princess Lyron wants to hurt us, he said. When she talked about finding a peaceful solution, I think she meant it. Everyone looked at him. Jake felt his face get red. He hadn't told them about the strange feelings he had when he looked at the princess. Captain Morrison said, President Maria Santos, what makes you think we can trust her? Jake thought about how to explain it. When she looked at me, it felt like she could see into my thoughts, but it didn't feel scary or wrong. It felt like she really cared about finding a way to save both our peoples. Admiral Sullivan rolled her eyes. You're talking about feelings, Captain. Feelings don't stop alien weapons from destroying our cities, but maybe feelings are more important than we think, Dr. Chang said. I've been studying their crystal skin. The way it changes colors isn't just pretty, it shows their emotions. These people can't lie about how they feel. Their bodies give them away. Jake remembered how the princess's skin had turned blue when she was sad and red when the general was angry. Dr. Chang is right. They can't hide what they're feeling. When Princess Lyrith said she wanted peace, her skin stayed the same beautiful color it was before. She was telling the truth. President Santos leaned forward. Captain, did you learn anything else about their technology or their weaknesses? They're incredibly advanced. Jake said their ships can appear and disappear like magic. They have weapons that can probably destroy our entire planet. But Princess Lyranth said something interesting. She said their technology works by using emotions and thoughts. The stronger their feelings, the more powerful their technology becomes. What does that mean for us? Admiral Sullivan asked. Dr. Chang looked excited. It might mean that they need to stay calm and controlled to use their technology properly. If we could make them confused or upset, maybe their weapons wouldn't work as well, or maybe it would make them even more dangerous, the Admiral said. Jake shook his head. I don't think so. When General Vexar got angry, Princess Lyron looked worried. I think their anger makes their technology unstable, not stronger. The meeting went on for hours. Some people wanted to build more weapons. Others wanted to try to negotiate. A few people even suggested that humans should leave Earth and find a new planet, but everyone knew that was impossible with Earth's current technology. Finally, President Santos made a decision. We're going to try both approaches. Admiral Sullivan start preparing our defenses, but don't do anything that looks like we're planning to attack. Ambassador Torres work with Captain Morrison to set up more meetings with the Zephyrians. We need to learn more about them and see if we can find a peaceful solution. After the meeting, Jake walked outside into the cool evening air. He looked up at the stars and wondered which one the Zephyrians called home. He also wondered if Princess Lyron was looking at the same stars and thinking about him. Captain Morrison. Jake turned around. Dr. Chang was walking toward him. Doctor, what can I do for you? She looked around to make sure no one could hear them. I wanted to ask you something private. When you were with Princess Lyron, did you feel anything unusual? Jake's face got red again. What do you mean? I mean, did you feel a connection to her that was stronger than normal? Like you'd known her for a long time, even though you just met? Jake stared at her. How did you know? Dr. Chang smiled. Because I think the Zephyrians might be able to sense emotions and thoughts better than they told us, and I think Princess Lyron might have felt the same connection to you. That's impossible, Jake said. She's an alien. Princess, I'm just a ship captain from Texas. Love doesn't care about things like that, Dr. Chang said gently, and if I'm right about their abilities, she knows exactly how you feel about her. Jake felt scared and excited at the same time. Even if that's true, what difference does it make? Her people need our solar system to survive. My feelings won't change that. Maybe not, Dr. Chang said. But throughout history, love has changed the world in ways that armies and weapons couldn't. Don't give up hope, Captain. 3 days later, Jake got a message that made his heart race. It was from Princess Lyron herself, sent through a communication method that Earth scientists couldn't understand. Captain Morrison, the message said, I would like to meet with you alone. Not as representatives of our peoples, but as two individuals who want to understand each other better. If you agree, come to the coordinates I'm sending you. Come alone and tell no one where you're going. There are those among my people who would not approve of this meeting. Jake stared at the message for a long time. Meeting her alone could be dangerous. It could be a trap, but something deep inside him knew it wasn't. 2 days later, Jake took a small ship and flew to the coordinates the princess had sent. It was near Jupiter, in an area of space that seemed empty, but as soon as he arrived, Princess Lyron's ship appeared like magic. It was smaller than the big ship from their first meeting, and it glowed with soft silver light instead of blue. Welcome, Jake. Morrison, her voice came through his radio, and he loved hearing her say his first name. Please come aboard. When Jake entered her ship, he saw that it was decorated like a garden with crystal trees that sang soft music and flowers that glowed with gentle light. Princess Lyron was waiting for him, wearing a simple white dress instead of the formal robe she had worn before. Thank you for coming, she said. I wasn't sure you would. I had to come, Jake said honestly. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since our first meeting. Her crystal skin turned a warm golden color, and Jake realized she was happy. I have not been able to stop thinking about you either, she said softly. That is why I asked you here. There are things I need to tell you about my people and our situation, things that might help both our civilization survive. Princess Lyron led Jake to a room filled with soft cushions and crystal walls that showed pictures of her home. world, Jake could see beautiful cities, floating in the air and people with crystal skin walking through gardens that looked like they were made of light. My world was the most beautiful place in the galaxy, she said sadly. Her skin turned the same blue color Jake had seen before. Now it's dying and soon it will be gone forever. Jake sat down beside her on the soft cushions. He wanted to comfort her, but he didn't know if it was okay to touch her. Tell me about your people, he said gently. Help me understand. Princess Lyranith looked into his eyes. We are very different from humans, Jake. We can sense each other's thoughts and feelings. We cannot lie because our emotions show on our skin, and our technology works through the power of our minds and hearts. That's amazing, Jake said. It can be, she agreed, but it also makes us weak in some ways. When we are upset or confused, our technology stops working properly. When we are sad or afraid, our ships cannot fly as fast. When we are angry, our weapons become dangerous to ourselves as well as our enemies. Jake began to understand. That's why General Vexar looked so dangerous when he was angry. His emotions were making him unstable. Yes, Princess Lai said, and that is why I'm so worried about what will happen to both our peoples. General Vexar believes that war is the only way to save our civilization. Every day more of our people agree with him because they are scared and desperate. She touched a crystal on the wall and it showed a picture of the Zephyrian home star. Jake could see that it was much redder and dimmer than it should be. We have maybe 50 Earth years before our sun dies completely, she continued, but General Vexar doesn't want to wait. He wants to take your solar system now before our people become even weaker. Jake felt cold. How many ships does he have? Millions, Princess Lyranth said quietly. Each ship can destroy one of your cities in seconds. If he decides to attack, your people won't have a chance. Jake stared at the pictures on the wall. He thought about Earth, about all the people he loved who lived there, his parents, his sister, his friends, everyone he had ever known. But you don't want war, he said. No, she said, and her skin glowed with warm golden light again. I believe our peoples can live together. I believe we can find a way to share your solar system without hurting anyone. Jake looked at her beautiful face and felt something he had never felt before. It was stronger than friendship, deeper than attraction. He was falling in love with an alien princess, and he didn't care how impossible it was. Princess, he began, then stopped. Can I call you Lyra? She smiled. I would like that very much. Lyra, when you look at me, what do you see in my thoughts? Her crystal skin turned a soft pink color. I see a good man who cares about others more than himself. I see someone who wants to protect his people, but who also wants to do what is right. And I see, she paused. What? I see feelings for me that are very strong and very pure, she said softly. Feelings that I share. Jake's heart beat faster. You feel the same way? Yes, she whispered. But it doesn't matter how we feel about each other. General Vexar will never allow peace between our peoples. He thinks humans are too primitive and dangerous to share the galaxy with. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout Princess Lyranth's ship. Her skin turned bright red with fear. What's happening? Jake asked. We've been found, she said, jumping up and running to control panel. General Vexar has been watching me. He knows about our meeting. Jake looked out the window and saw huge Zafran warships appearing all around them. There were at least 20 of them, each one bristling with weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Princess Lyraneth, General V-Star's voice, came through the ship's communication system. You will return to our main ship immediately. You are under arrest for treason. Treason, Lyra said angrily. Her skin turned bright orange. I'm trying to save our people and the humans. You are betraying our people by working with the enemy, the general replied. The human will be destroyed and you will be imprisoned until we decide what to do with you. Jake grabbed Lyra's hand. Her crystal skin felt warm and smooth under his fingers. I won't let them hurt you, he said. She looked at him with tears in her beautiful blue eyes. Jake, there's nothing you can do. Their ships are too powerful. Your little ship can't fight them. But Jake had an idea. You said their technology works through emotions, right? And that when they're upset or confused, it doesn't work as well. Yes, but then we need to make them confused, Jake said. He ran to his ship's control panel and began typing quickly. What are you doing? I'm sending a message to my ship, the New Horizon. I'm telling them to do something that will confuse the hell out of these guys. Jake finished typing and sent the message. Then he grabbed Lyra's hands. Again, listen to me, he said. I don't know if we're going to survive this, but I need to tell you something. Jake, we don't have time. I'm in love with you, he said quickly. I know it's crazy. I know it's impossible. I know we just met, but I love you more than I've ever loved anyone in my life. Lyra's skin turned the most beautiful golden color Jake had ever seen. Jake, I love you too, but I wish I could wed her, Jake whispered, not realizing he was speaking out loud. Lyra's eyes went wide. What did you just say? I said I wish I could marry you. I wish we could be together forever. Lyra's skin turned so bright with golden light that Jake had to close his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, she was smiling, the most amazing smile he had ever seen. Then, you shall, she said softly. What in Zapirian culture, when someone declares their love and wishes to bond with a member of the royal family, and that royal family member accepts, it creates a sacred engagement that cannot be broken, she explained quickly. Not even General Vexar can interfere with it. Jake stared at her. Are you saying we're engaged? I'm saying more than that, Lyra said. I'm saying that if you're brave enough to undergo the trials of unity, we can be bonded for life. Our marriage would create a permanent alliance between our peoples. What are the trials of unity? Before Lyra could answer, General Vexar's voice came through the communication system again, but this time he sounded surprised and angry. Princess, what have you done? The sacred bonding ritual has begun. This is impossible. It is not impossible, General, Lyra said proudly. Captain Jake Morrison of Earth has declared his intention to wed me, and I have accepted. According to our oldest laws, he now has the right to attempt the trials of unity. There was a long silence. Then General Vexar spoke again, and his voice was full of anger. Very well, Princess, but know this, no alien has ever survived the trials of unity. When this human dies in the arena, you will have no choice but to accept that war is the only way to save our people. Jake felt scared, but he also felt more determined than he had ever felt in his life. What exactly are these trials? He asked Lyra quietly. 3 tests, she said. First, you must prove your courage by facing the greatest warriors and creatures in the galaxy. Second, you must prove your wisdom by solving a problem that has puzzled our greatest minds for centuries. Third, you must prove your love by joining your mind with mine, without losing yourself in the process. Jake swallowed hard. And if you fail the first trial, you die in combat. If you fail the second, you are considered unworthy and banished forever. If you fail the third, she paused. What happens if I fail the third trial? Your mind and mine would be destroyed. We would both go insane and die. Jake looked out at the Zaffiran warships surrounding them. He thought about Earth and everyone he loved there. He thought about billions of Zahirians who would die if they couldn't find a new home. And he looked at Lyra, the most wonderful person he had ever met. "I'll do it," he said. "I'll take the trials." Lyra threw her arms around him, and Jake felt the warmth of her crystal skin against his face. "I believe in you, Jake Morrison," she whispered, "and if you succeed, you won't just win my hand in marriage, you'll save both our civilizations." The Zafirian arena was the biggest room Jake had ever seen. It was made entirely of black crystal that reflected light in strange ways, making it look like he was standing in the middle of space itself. Thousands of Zafirians sat in seats that floated in the air around the arena, their crystal skin glowing with different colors as they watched him. Jake wore simple combat gear from his ship. He had a standard-issue laser weapon and a knife. It wasn't much compared to the advanced technology around him, but it was all General Vexeter would allow. Princess Lyran sat in a special box with the other royal family members. Jake could see her from across the arena, and her skin was glowing with worried blue light. She had tried to tell him what to expect, but the trials were different for every person who attempted them. "Human." General Vexar's voice echoed through the arena. "You will face 3 challenges. In combat, you must defeat each one to continue. If you fail, you die. If you run away, you die. Your only choice is to fight." The floor in the center of the arena opened up and something climbed out. Jake had never seen anything like it. It looked like a giant spider made of metal with 8 legs that ended in sharp claws and eyes that glowed red with hatred. It was twice as tall as Jake and moved faster than anything that size should be able to move. The crowd cheered as the metal spider rushed toward Jake. He rolled to the side just as one of its claws sliced through the air where his head had been. The claw was so sharp it cut through the crystal floor like it was made of paper. Jake fired his laser at the creature, but the beam bounced off its metal skin. Without doing any damage, the spider spun around and tried to grab him with 2 of its legs. Jake ducked and ran between its legs, slashing at them with his knife as he passed. The knife didn't cut through the metal, but it made sparks fly. Jake realized the creature was a machine, not a living thing. Machines had weak points. The spider chased him around the arena, its claws making terrible screeching sounds as they scraped against the crystal floor. Jake kept running, looking for any weakness he could find. Then he saw it. A small panel on the creature's back that glowed with the same red light as its eyes. Jake stopped running and let the spider catch up to him. At the last second, he jumped as high as he could and landed on the creature's back. Before it could shake him off, he stabbed his knife into the glowing panel. The spider froze for a moment, then exploded in a shower of sparks and metal pieces. Jake was thrown across the arena, but he wasn't hurt badly. The crowd was silent. They had not expected the primitive human to defeat their champion so quickly. Interesting. General Vexar said, you use your weakness as a strength. Most warriors would have tried to fight the creature with power. You used cunning instead. The floor opened again, and this time a real alien warrior climbed out. He was tall and blue with 4 arms and skin that looked like armor. He carried energy weapons in each hand that crackled with deadly electricity. I am Warrior Kent of the Riel system, the alien said in a deep voice. I have killed over 1,000 enemies in honorable combat. It will be my pleasure to add a human to that number. Jake knew he couldn't outfight this warrior. With weapons, the alien was bigger, stronger, and had better equipment. But Jake remembered what Princess Lyron had told him about Zahirian technology. It worked through emotions and thoughts. You know, Jake said loudly so everyone in the arena could hear him, I've heard that Riel warriors are supposed to be honorable, but there's nothing honorable about a 4-armed giant beating up someone half his size with better weapons. Warrior Kent's face turned angry. You dare question my honor? I'm not questioning it, Jake said with a smile. I'm saying you don't have any. What kind of great warrior needs 4 energy weapons to kill 1 human with a knife? The crowd began to murmur. Jake could see that some of the Zafarans were starting to agree with him. Warrior Kent roared with anger and threw 3 of his weapons to the ground. I will kill you with my bare hands. The alien charged at Jake, but now he was emotional and sloppy instead of calm and precise. Jake waited until the last moment, then rolled to the side. Warrior Kent crashed into the arena wall and stunned himself. While the alien was confused, Jake grabbed one of the dropped energy weapons and pointed it at the warrior's head. I win, Jake said simply. The crowd cheered louder than before. Even General Vexar looked impressed. 2 challenges completed. The general announced, now comes your final opponent. The floor opened a 3rd time and Jake's heart sank. The creature that climbed out was the most terrifying thing he had ever seen. It was as big as a house with tentacles like a giant octopus and teeth like a shark. Its skin was black and slimy, and it made sounds like screaming wind. This is a void beast from the dead space between galaxies, General Vexar explained. It feeds on fear and despair. The more afraid you are, the stronger it becomes. No one has ever defeated one in single combat. Jake looked up at Princess Lyronith. She was standing now, her skin bright red with fear for him. Jake realized that her fear was making the monster stronger instead of being afraid. Jake started to laugh. The void beast stopped moving and looked at him with confusion. Jake laughed harder. You know what, Jake said to the monster, you're really ugly. I mean seriously ugly. Did you fall out of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down? The crowd gasped. No one had ever made jokes at a void beast before. Jake kept talking. And what's with all those tentacles? Are you a monster or a plate of spaghetti? I've seen scarier things in my grandmother's basement. Something amazing happened. The void beast began to shrink. Jake's lack of fear and his humor were making it weaker instead of stronger. Hey everyone, Jake shouted to the crowd. Want to hear a joke? Why don't void beasts ever get invited to parties? Because they're such a drag. Some of the Zahirians actually started to laugh. Princess Lyron was laughing 2. Her skin glowing bright gold with joy and amazement. The more people laughed, the smaller the void beast became until it was no bigger than a dog. It looked embarrassed and confused. Then it just faded away like smoke. The arena exploded with cheers. Jake had defeated all 3 challenges without killing anyone or anything. He had used his brain, his courage, and his sense of humor instead of violence. General Vexeter looked stunned. The first trial is complete, he announced. Now comes the trial of wisdom. Jake was taken to a room filled with the greatest thinkers in the Zephyrian Empire. They were all old with crystal skin that had turned silver with age, and their eyes glowed with ancient knowledge. Human, said the oldest one, for 10,000 years our people have struggled with the paradox of civilizations. How can 2 different species share the same space without one destroying the other? Many have tried to answer this question. All have failed. Jake thought carefully. This wasn't about fighting or being clever. This was about understanding something fundamental about life and civilizations. Can I ask a question first? Jake said. You may ask. When 2 different kinds of plants grow in the same garden, what happens? The old Zephyrian looked confused. They compete for resources. Usually one type dies out, but what if they don't compete? Jake asked. What if they help each other instead? Some plants make the soil better for other plants. Some plants protect other plants from insects. They don't try to be the same. They use their differences to make the whole garden stronger. The room was silent. Jake continued. Maybe the answer isn't for 2 civilizations to compete or for one to dominate the other. Maybe the answer is for them to become something new together, something that couldn't exist without both of them. The old Zephyrians looked at each other with amazement. The human is correct, the oldest one said slowly. The answer is not competition or domination. It is cooperation that creates something greater than either civilization could be alone. The second trial is complete. General Vexar announced, and Jake could hear surprise in his voice. Now came the most dangerous trial of all. Jake was brought to a special chamber where Princess Lyreth was waiting for him. The room was filled with crystal formations that hummed with energy. Jake, she said, taking his hand, this last trial is the most dangerous. I must link my mind with yours. Our thoughts and feelings will become one. If our minds are too different, we will both go insane. Jake looked into her beautiful blue eyes. I'm not afraid, he said. I love you, Lyra. That love will protect us both. She smiled and placed her crystal hands on the sides of his head. Immediately, Jake felt her thoughts flowing into his mind like warm water. At first it was overwhelming. Her thoughts were so organized and logical compared to his chaotic human thinking. But then something wonderful happened. Instead of his thoughts destroying her organized mind, they began to dance together like music. Jake could feel Lyra's deep love for her people and her desperate desire to save them. She could feel his fierce protectiveness for Earth and his willingness to sacrifice everything for the people he loved. Together, their joined minds discovered something amazing. They could see a way for both species to live in the same solar system by existing in slightly different dimensions. The Zephyrians' technology and human creativity could work together to make it possible. When they separated their minds, both Jake and Lyra were glowing with golden light. It is finished. The wedding ceremony took place on a crystal platform, floating in space between Earth and the Zephyrian fleet. Jake had never imagined he would get married in the vacuum of space, wearing a special suit that let him breathe while still looking formal. Princess Lyron wore a dress made of living light that changed colors like her skin. When she walked toward Jake, she looked like a goddess made of starlight. Jake felt tears in his eyes as he watched the most beautiful woman in the galaxy coming to marry him. Representatives from both Earth and the Zahirian Empire watched the ceremony. Admiral Kate Sullivan was there, looking amazed that her military preparations were no longer needed. Ambassador Ryan Torr smiled widely, knowing that peace had been achieved through love instead of war. General Vexeter stood with the other Zephyrian officials. His skin was no longer the angry red color Jake had seen before. Now it was a calm blue-green, showing that he had accepted what was happening. The ceremony itself was unlike anything from either human or Zahirian tradition. It combined the best of both cultures. Jake and Lyra spoke vows in both English and the musical Zephyrian language. They exchanged rings made from earth gold and Zephyrian crystal, but the most important part was when they joined their minds again, this time in front of everyone, as their consciousness merged. Every person watching could see golden light flowing between them. The light was so bright and beautiful that many people in the crowd started crying. When Jake and Lyra kissed his husband and wife, the light exploded outward like a small star being born. In that moment, Jake could feel the minds of every human and every Zephyrian present, all connected by the love he shared with his new wife, by the ancient laws of our people and the sacred bonds of the universe, announced the Zephyrian High Priest. Princess Lyranth and Captain Jake Morrison are now bonded for all time. Their union creates a permanent alliance between the Zephyrian Empire and the human race. The celebration lasted for 3 days. During that time, teams of scientists and engineers from both species worked together to solve the problem of sharing the solar system. Dr. Lisa Chang worked with Zephyrian scientists to develop the dimensional phase technology they had discovered during Jake and Lyra's mind link. It was incredibly complex, but the basic idea was simple. Humans and Zahirians could live on the same planets by existing in slightly different dimensions. It's like having 2 radio stations broadcasting on different frequencies. Dr. Chang explained to Jake, they're using the same space, but they don't interfere with each other. The Zephyrians would live in cities that exist just a tiny bit outside our normal dimension. We would share the same air, water, and sunlight, but we wouldn't bump into each other unless we wanted to. The technology required both human creativity and Zephyrian precision to work. Human emotions provided the chaotic energy needed to power the dimensional generators, while Zahirian mental discipline controlled exactly where and how the phase shifts happened. This is incredible, Admiral Sullivan said as she watched the first test of the technology. We're not just avoiding war, we're creating something completely new. The first group of Zephyrian refugees arrived 2 months after the wedding. Jake and Lyra stood together on the observation deck of the space station that had been built to coordinate the settlement process. Below them, they could see the first Zahirian city materializing on Mars. It looked like a collection of crystal flowers, blooming in the red desert, the city existed in a dimension just slightly different from normal space, so it appeared ghostly and translucent from the outside. "Your people are safe now," Jake said too, his wife putting his arm around her waist. Lyra's skin glowed with happy golden light. "Our people," she corrected him gently. "We are one family now." Jake smiled. It had taken him time to get used to thinking of himself as part of both species, but Lyra was right. The marriage had made him a bridge between two worlds. The dimensional cities weren't the only amazing thing that came from the alliance. Human and Zephyrian scientists working together had made discoveries that neither species could have made alone. They developed faster than light communication, using emotional resonance, allowing instant messages across the galaxy. They created healing technology that could cure diseases by fixing the emotional imbalances that caused them. They built ships that could travel through both normal space and the dimensional phases, opening up new parts of the universe for exploration. But perhaps the most wonderful discovery was what happened when humans and Zephyrians had children together. The first human baby was born 1 year after Jake and Lyra's wedding. Little Emma Morrison Lith had her mother's beautiful crystal skin and her father's bright green eyes. But she also had abilities that neither species had ever seen before. Emma could communicate telepathically like her Zephyrian mother, but she could also project her thoughts into technology like no Zephyrian ever could. She could sense the emotions of plants and animals, something that amazed both human and Zephyrian scientists. "She represents the future," Dr. Chang said as she watched baby Emma make flowers bloom just by touching them. "These children will be able to do things we can't even imagine." Jake and Lyra weren't the only couple to bridge the gap between species. As more humans and Zephyrians worked together, many fell in love and got married. Each wedding was a celebration not just of two individuals, but of the growing unity between the two peoples. General Vexter, who had once wanted to destroy humanity, became one of the strongest supporters of the alliance. He worked with Admiral Sullivan to create joint defense forces to protect both species from other threats in the galaxy. "I was wrong about humans," he told Jake during a diplomatic dinner. "I thought you were primitive and dangerous. I did not understand that your chaos and our order could work together to create something beautiful." Ambassador Torres established diplomatic relationships with dozens of other alien species who were fascinated by the human Zephyrian alliance. For the first time in galactic history, two completely different civilizations had found a way to live together without one dominating the other. "We're not just an alliance," Torres explained to a delegation of curious aliens. "We're proof that love and cooperation can overcome any barrier." Jake often thought about how his life had changed. 2 years earlier, he had been just a ship captain, exploring empty space. Now he was a prince of an alien empire, helping to create a new kind of civilization that had never existed before. But the best part of his new life was waking up every morning next to Lyra. Her crystal skin would glow with warm golden light when she saw him, and Jake knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would face them together. One evening, Jake and Lyra stood on the balcony of their new home on the space station. The home existed in both dimensions simultaneously, so they could see both the human and Zahirian parts of the station around them, Earth hung in space nearby, blue and green and beautiful, but it no longer looked lonely. Now it was surrounded by the crystal cities of the Zafirians, glowing like jewelry around a precious stone. Do you ever regret it? Lyra asked, taking Jake's hand, giving up your simple life as a ship captain to become part of all this? Jake looked at his amazing wife, then at the miraculous civilization they had helped create together. He thought about baby Emma and all the other children who would grow up in a galaxy where different species work together instead of fighting each other. Never, he said, squeezing her hand. This is exactly where I belong. Lyra's skin glowed brighter and she smiled the smile that had first made Jake fall in love with her. When you first whispered that you wished you could wed me, did you imagine it would lead to all this? She asked. Jake laughed. I just knew I loved you and wanted to spend my life with you. I had no idea we would end up saving two civilizations in the process. Love has power we never understand until we experience it, Lyra said wisely. It can overcome any obstacle, bridge any gap, and create miracles that seem impossible. Jake pulled her close and kissed her under the stars around them. The lights of human and Zaffiran cities twinkled like earthbound constellations, proof that love really could change the universe. In the distance, Jake could see the construction of the first joint exploration ship that would carry both humans and Zaffirans to explore new galaxies together. The ship was beautiful, combining the practical design of human engineering with the artistic elegance of Zapirian crystal technology. Ready for our next adventure? Jake asked his wife. Lyra's skin turned the bright silver color that meant she was excited. With you, I'm ready for anything. As they watched, the first stars of the evening appeared in the darkening sky. But now those stars didn't represent the unknown or the dangerous. They represented possibilities, new worlds to explore and new peoples to meet and befriend. Jake Morrison had started his journey as a simple ship captain who just wanted to explore the galaxy. He had ended up becoming the bridge between two civilizations and proof that love really could conquer all, and this was only the beginning.